let's create the tag set for our particular website here. So as I indicated in the last lesson, it's usually a good idea to write things out. That will lead you to the tags that you need to create for your particular tag set. So let's read what I've got here. So in addition to being a place to learn about tea, T-Cloud sells products on our site, kettles and teas. Kettles have an associated product image, name, and price along with a description. Teas have a name, price, and unit for the given price in weight, and they don't have an associated product image. So if we go ahead and underline the various nouns that we have here in the paragraph, we can very quickly get an idea of what our tags are going to need to be. Let's switch over to the code and take a look at our site and the XML file that we need to build. Okay, so I'm here in the code now for the XML file that we need to build. And I've gotten a little bit of a start here by listing out all of the products that the site sells. So the first three here are tea kettles, and the next three are specific teas. So we need to turn this start file into a finished XML file. So recall that when we wrote out our paragraph describing the various nouns and adjectives and so on, we very quickly realized that there were products that we sell. So that's probably a good place to begin. So let's begin by writing, well, first of all, our XML declaration, because that should come with every XML file. So we'll write XML, and we'll write version equals 1.0. And the encoding, we're going to set that to UTF-8. Now, this will usually be done for you by your XML editor, but the default encoding is going to be UTF-8 anyway. I just want to be explicit about it. So let's begin by making our base class tag. Now, this is the tag that someone reading the XML file would look at and quickly get an idea of what the contents of the file are. So it seems to me that since we are selling products for the T-Cloud site, as good a name as any is going to be something like T-Cloud products. So now that we have our base tag, we can start putting in our container tags. And the container tags are going to be tags that group together individual tags that are related. So recall back from the example when we wrote out the paragraph that our website sells kettles and teas. So what I'm going to do here is create a tag named kettles, and I'm going to create one named teas. Okay, so far so good. Now, we've got three of each here. We have 3 kettles, and we have 3 teas that are available for sale. So I'm going to go ahead and inside the kettle section, I'm going to create a tag named kettle. And each kettle is going to have information associated with it. So at this point, let's stop and take a look at some of the kettles. So we can see that each tea kettle has a name and it has a price, and there's a path in the assets folder that has its related image. So if we scroll over here and look in the images, we can see under products, under kettles, so there are images that correspond to each one of these guys. Now, image paths are not likely to be different for each one of these tags in this example. In fact, there's only one. So what we're going to do is we'll make the image an attribute, and we'll just copy this data right here. And we also need a place to put the name. So we'll make the name an attribute as well. And we'll just put that right up in here. And we've got one piece of information left to go in attributes, and that's price. Now, in this case, we only sell in the US, let's say, and we only have one price. So I'll make that an attribute. And that's $49.95 for this one. And last but not least, we have the description. So the description is some pretty long text, and I'm going to make that the text content of the kettle tag. So now we just need to do this for each one of the kettle tags. And we'll just copy that information into each one. So here's the Earl's Grey one. And in fact, I need to entity escape that apostrophe right there. So I'm going to write ampersand, a pause, semicolon. You need to do entity escaping when you're putting things like quotes inside XML files. And we'll have that be that price. And the image here is Earl's Grey instead. So we'll replace that. And the description. Okay, that's the second one. And we've got one more to go. So we'll do the description. And we'll do the name. And we'll do the price. And we'll change the image name. Okay. Looks like our XML file is taking shape nicely here. So now we just need to go ahead and do the T's. So inside the T's section, I'm going to go ahead and make a T tag for each one of these guys. Now each T product has a name and a price, but there's no image. So we don't have to worry about that, but each one does have a description. So I'll take the description for each and put that inside the T tag. What I'm going to do is make 3 copies here because I've got 3 T's. And I'll copy this one and paste that one in. And then finally this one. Okay. Now I just need to deal with the names and the prices. So the names are pretty straightforward because they're the same as in the kettle case. So I'll just have a name and we'll do some copying and pasting here. And this one too. And finally on this one. Now we need to deal with the prices. And you notice that the price is not just a price, it's per unit. So we could just take the approach of saying, well, let's just call this price equals, and then 26.95 per pound. Now, I don't suggest you do this, and here's why. What you're doing is you're combining 2 different pieces of information in one single attribute. Let's suppose we had some processing code on the back end that calculated the total price of an order that someone put together. And they ordered, a couple of kettles and a couple of teas. Well, adding up the prices for the kettles is pretty straightforward because you just got the numbers in here. But to do that for the teas, you've got to go through some additional processing to strip off this per pound indicator. So it's not a good idea to try to combine different pieces of information. And besides, suppose in the future we decide to sell teas per ounce for some really expensive teas, or we decide to switch over to the metric system and sell teas per kilogram, right? You want some easy way to change that. So what I'm going to do is leave off the per pound unit and make a separate attribute named unit, and that's going to be pound. And I'm going to do that for each one of these guys. Price equals, and this one is $16.95, and the unit is pound. And then finally this one as well. In this case the price is $18.95 and the unit is pound. Okay. Well, that's pretty much it. We are now done creating the XML file format. So we save it, and now it's time to integrate this with the HTML code. And that's the next lesson.